Reporting live from Hypers Club in Atlanta, 5 Plus News, I'm John Abba.
And I'm still looking at my bank account like, why isn't it cutting it? Why isn't it enough?
I have to come to pantries, and sometimes I don't have, all the food that I needed, to provide for my family.
What would it mean for you and your family if you don't get that money in November?
For the recent viral conversation around food stamps and SNAP benefits, many credible news outlets have begun adding to the coverage, interviewing people who use government assistance amid programs being cut off due to the current government shutdown. CNN, who according to its mission wants to inform, engage, and empower the world and considers themselves as truth seekers and storytellers, is now being questioned if they are about telling the truth, or more so, how much of it do they tell? On Thursday, a video would be released across CNN's social pages of a black mom being interviewed about her struggles after not receiving her usual government assistance. The mother would even proceed to tell cameras that she felt like a failure despite having a college degree and working 40 hours a week.
Onita Norris is a single mom who works at a university. She relies on SNAP benefits, also known as food stamps, to help feed her family. The government shutdown has cut back funding for the program.
I went to college. I did all the things they say you're supposed to do. I'm trying to do all that I can. And yeah, I feel like I'm failing them.
Now, as we have learned a part of our coverage here about food stamps, the majority of stamp recipients, according to reports, are white Americans at 37%. While black Americans make up 26% of food stamp users. So yes, this black mother's story was real, but for some in the comments, it further projected a stereotype and a slight towards black people, that they're the ones who always need help. While one user would go on to say, interviews like these do humanize specific situations, but please interview a multitude of individuals from the group. You specifically selected a black woman to further push stereotypes. Most SNAP benefits do not go to black women, but I do appreciate the airtime focused on this. People deserve to eat. While another would say, why these interviews are always black people when it's white people that are mostly on food stamp. Now, to further investigate, we decided to take a more in-depth look at the food stamp coverage CNN would air across their social pages. And we would notice that they mainly only showed black people, and more specifically, black women. Now, just 7 days before the mentioned black mother story would air, CNN would release another video on the food stamp shutdown, this time at a food bank in DC. And guess who they would only interview amongst the recipients there? A black woman.
Tens of millions of Americans are at risk of losing federal food stamp benefits, funded through the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program.
I have to come to pantries, and sometimes I don't have, all the food that I needed, to provide for my family. I just hope and pray for everybody that's out there being, in the same situation as me.
Now, interesting enough, while covering some of the federal workers who now need assistance, a CNN reporter would bypass the rural areas where a good majority of white food stampers live, as well as white residents lining up at food banks, and decided to travel to Queens, New York to interview another black woman about her struggles and needing assistance.
We're moving money around just to get by, going into our savings just to get by.
Here in Queens at a food distribution site, we're speaking with people here who are emotional, worried about how they're going to pay their bills and knowing this is the only way they're going to put food on the table.
And literally just a week before this DC coverage on October 24th, they will post another government employee having to go to a food bank, and she too was a black woman.
I would have never thought in a million years that I would have been in this position.
Denise Blake says she drove over an hour to this food bank for federal workers. Blake is one of more than 1 million federal workers going without pay. She didn't go home empty-handed.
All right, let's see what else they have.
Let me get you some. How many people are in your house?
It's myself, my daughter, and I have a sister there.
Now, when it did come to the focus of food stamp users, that same exact day they will post another interview of a recipient, and we don't even have to say what she was.
What would it mean for you and your family if you don't get that money in November?
To have those benefits cut off can be an issue for me to get healthy food for me and my daughter. It can put people in desperate situations to make mistakes that they cannot come back from.
Again, to remind you, 37% of food stamp recipients are white Americans, compared to 26% of black Americans. Yet black people are the ones constantly being interviewed about it. Our investigation would further reveal that just several days before their story on the reported federal worker would be posted online, while breaking news on federal employees using food banks, they would cover the organization Capital Area Food Bank, And as it appears from their own story, this organization mainly serves the black community in DC and Virginia. Another conscious decision to not cover white communities of food stamp users. While trying to verify who Capital Area Food Bank mainly served for this report, on the front page of the website, we would notice who? A black mother and her child as the face of this mission. Now, combining the amount of views from all the stories just mentioned, the clips have collectively reached millions of people. Out of their consecutive videos posted on their social media accounts about the food stamp shutdown, CNN would mainly only showcase black people, and none of their videos would feature any of the 37% of white Americans who use the same service. So either there's a deliberate agenda to highlight black people as the needy, or maybe these reporters were too lazy to travel outside of their cities where a good amount of less fortunate white Americans live. Media bias is a dangerous thing. And just to give CNN the benefit of doubt, we would even run a search on their main site to see if the same is being done on there as well. And to the surprise of some, we would see stories of white food stamp users in their archived reports. But again, none in their recent social media coverage, which from our assumption is viewed the most. Just this week, reports have started to circulate on the term digital blackface, in which some non-black users are using AI to reinforce negative stereotypes about black people, in which has been mainly used a part of the food stamp conversation. So to only broadcast those same negative stereotypes does the same type of damage, in my opinion, as it alters people's perception and the true reality.
We finna pay for this with our EBT cards. Hell yeah, we not tipping the waiter nothing too.
So what's the issue? If we keep pushing one narrative over and over, don't you think it programs us to repeat cycles and thought patterns? Don't you think subconsciously this influences black women on how they should view themselves? Don't you think it further makes people across the globe see black people from one perspective without seeing us as fully capable people who can handle real opportunities and have for years, instead of limited handouts? Malcolm X once said, the media is the most powerful entity on earth. They have the power to make the innocent guilty and to make the guilty innocent, and that's power. To add to his quote, the media has the power to make the king look poor and the poor look like kings. Yes, black people only make up 12% of the nation while representing 26% of food stamp users. However, we can't ignore that white Americans are the majority of the recipients. We here at Hype Plus have always strived on giving accurate information to our viewers with no extra agenda outside the facts and a perspective that doesn't only reinforce negative stereotypes. Thanks to honest people online, White Food Stamp Nation has been more visible than ever before, and we're certain that this type of coverage helps us all progress and address the issues directly. Let's talk about them in the comments below. What are your thoughts about white food stamp recipients not being covered by the mainstream media? Save the day for the latest news and comedy, culture, and sports by subscribing here to our YouTube channel. And if you enjoy content like this, check out hypersclub.com to get a membership to watch full interviews and more original content. And if you have a story you think we should cover, send us a message now at hypealerts.com. Reporting live from Hypers Club in Atlanta for Hype Plus News, I'm John Abba.